Hey everyone. So today, we're diving into something that pretty much runs our entire world, but we almost never stop to think about it, the Constitution. And you should just forget any idea of it being some dry, dusty old document. Seriously, we're going to look at it as the ultimate rulebook for society, kind of like the operating system that makes everything else run. Okay, so let's start with a really basic question. Just think about it for a second. How do millions and millions of complete strangers, people with different religions, different jobs, totally different ideas about everything, how do we all manage to live together without it just falling into total chaos? Let's just do a quick thought experiment. Picture your town or your city. You've got people from every walk of life imaginable, right? All different ages, backgrounds, beliefs, and yet somehow we all depend on each other every single day. Now, for a group like that to even work, to just survive, really, it needs one absolutely critical thing: a common set of rules that pretty much everyone agrees to play by. I mean, think about what it would be like without that rule book. You'd live in this constant state of insecurity. You'd have no idea what others were going to do. You couldn't be sure of your rights, your property, anything. It would just be completely exhausting. And this brings us right to the very first, and maybe the most basic job of a constitution: creating a little bit of coordination. So the first function is to lay down some ground rules. But here's the kicker. For these rules to mean anything, they have to be public. Everyone has to know them. And, most important, they have to be enforceable. That's what gives you the confidence, the assurance that if you follow the rules, other people will too. Because if they don't, something will actually happen. Okay, so we all agree we need rules. That's the easy part. The next problem, though, is a whole lot trickier. And that leads us to the second big job of a constitution. Right? Who actually gets to make these laws that govern all of us? I mean, you might want one rule, your neighbor might want the exact opposite. So how do we figure that out? Who gets to have the final say? And this slide shows you the different answers societies have come up with. A constitution has to specify this. In a monarchy, it's pretty simple. One person, the monarch, gets to decide. But in a democracy, the Constitution says, no, the people get to decide, usually by electing folks who will make the laws for them. So that's the second key function. The Constitution is the thing that actually creates the government. It's the ultimate authority that says, okay, this parliament or this president, these are the people who have the legitimate power to make decisions for everyone else. But this creates a brand new problem, and it's a fascinating one. Once you've set up a government that's powerful enough to make laws for everybody, well, you have to start worrying about that power being misused. And I love this cartoon because it just hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? It's like you go through all this effort to create this big, powerful thing called government to keep order, and then you immediately have to figure out how to protect yourself from it. So how do you do that? Well, the most common way is by establishing fundamental rights. A constitution basically draws a line in the sand and says, look, there are certain things the government can never do. It can't tell you what to believe, it can't shut you up just for having an opinion, and it can't lock you up for no reason. These rights create a kind of protected zone around you that the government is not allowed to enter. And that is its third vital function. The Constitution puts real, fundamental limits on what the government can do. It's a safety net that makes sure even a government that's been elected by a huge majority can't just turn around and pass laws that take away people's basic freedom and dignity. But here's where things get really, really interesting. Modern constitutions often go way beyond just setting limits. They're also about what a government should do. They're about looking forward. You see, a lot of the constitutions written in the last century, like India's, for example, do more than just limit power. They actually empower the government to take positive action, to go out and create a better, more just society, to tackle huge problems like poverty or inequality that have been around for ages. So this fourth function is all about being an engine for change. It gives the government the job, the mandate, to work toward the collective dreams of its people. Things like education for all or ending discrimination. It literally bakes a society's hopes for the future right into its legal DNA. But let's be real for a second. Creating this rulebook is never easy. This cartoon really captures it perfectly. It's always a process of intense debate, fierce arguments, and hard-won compromise. It's messy, it's difficult, but it's an absolutely essential part of people figuring out how to live together. So, to quickly recap, these are the 4 superpowers of a constitution. 1, it helps us all coordinate and not descend into chaos. 2, it decides who gets to have power. 3, it limits that power to protect us. And 4, it empowers the government to help us build a better future. So at the end of the day, a constitution is so much more than a legal document. It's really a promise a society makes to itself, a promise about how millions of strangers can live together, not just peacefully, but also fairly. Which leaves us with the biggest question of all. How do we, the people, make sure that promise is actually kept? Now that's the real work, isn't it? And it's definitely something worth thinking about.